3, 2...
You need to chill.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Is that heaps uptight?
No, it wasn't, but you just fumbled.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, so this. I need some full strength shit. Okay.
Are you too close to me? Oh no.
This is like aesthetics.
No, but I feel like you were like on the middle, no? Should you move over a tiny bit? That's way better.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey guys, how you going? Welcome back to my channel. Today I have my really good friend Ash. We've known each other for a very long time. We've been friends since, what was it, like year 11? Probably earlier on, like we knew each other through the vines. And yeah, we thought we'd come together and just make a quick video about something that's a pretty touchy subject, especially with what's going on in the world right now. A lot of people who are in this situation probably need, like, I don't know, need people to be a little bit more open about what's going on, open with like struggles and mental health,
addiction.
Yeah, addiction. So yeah, we may as well just dive into a conversation that's pretty important right now.
Yeah.
So a little bit about Ash. She actually has had a bit of a struggle with addiction. She's gone through a huge process and she's come out the other end, and I think her story is a little bit inspirational for anyone that is actually struggling with addiction, you know, how to cope, how to get through it, like her experience. And yeah, so I'm just going to kind of ask her a few questions to kind of, I don't know, get a better idea of how she got to where she was to where she is from where she was. So Ash, when did you start using?
About my family history, you know, my parents were, you know, Australia 180s, like I'd like to say. You know, I had a good childhood. I wouldn't say my childhood was bad. I wouldn't say it was problematic. You know, I was an easily influenced kid. So yeah, I was with a friend at 13 in a park, and you know, that person had come from their bit of their family background was their mum was, you know, a user and stuff like that. And then yeah, that was like my first time I used drugs.
So you speak of like starting drugs at like a young, influential age. You know, it was marijuana. I feel like most of us have tried marijuana. So yeah, did you want to talk about how like drugs became a little bit more of a like constant thing?
Yeah. So when I was 14, every single weekend I'd go out. Saturday, Sunday would do pills, ecstasy. That literally continued till I was about 18. You know, like I honestly, it's not funny, but I wouldn't change my life. Like, you know, like from 14 to 18, I had like the best time of my life. You know, I'm not going to say it was bad because it wasn't, but I think it was different when you use drugs for a different reason. And, you know, through my upbringing, through my life, I was using drugs for fun. I did show signs, early signs of kind of being an addict, whereas back then I wouldn't have known. Like, you know, you literally need to use pills every weekend. Like, I didn't need to use them, but then when I look back, I'm like, I don't think I had a weekend where I wasn't, like, you know, using for fun. So yeah, that's when I think, yeah, kind of my addiction kind of started without me knowing. But yeah.
At this time, me and Ash were hanging out quite a lot, and like, I mean, we were kind of doing the same things. Like, we were young, having fun. But it's crazy to think that someone who I consider to be one of the most strong-minded people growing up could actually go like further down the route. This was the thing that I was doing, and like everyone in our circle, you know, we were 18, having fun. I mean, I feel like everyone kind of has that stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, so did you, so where did it go from there?
So when I started to know that I was using drugs for more of a coping mechanism instead of fun, I had my first relationship. They went to jail. So when they were in jail, I kind of found like that was really, really hard for me to deal with. That's when like my not eating started. I had a problem with food. I didn't eat. I think was like 40 kilos at one stage.
Wow. Yeah, I remember
Then
that.
like I started with using, you know, I was turning to that because that was what was there when he wasn't. You know, people were there with that when he wasn't. You know, we broke up and I couldn't deal with that at all. Like, I could not deal with someone, you know, that I literally depended on to be there every day. Like, that was all I had to turn to. I would go out and do that so that I wouldn't be thinking about him or the relationship or what I went through. So yeah, that's when that kind of became more of a coping mechanism. Yeah.
Rather than just recreational.
Yeah.
So we've had a little chat earlier, and you referred to yourself as like a functioning addict. Could you just explain what that is a little bit more?
Through my whole addiction, I kept a job. I worked every day. You know, I might not have been the best that I could have been, obviously, but I still functioned. You know, some people with their drug stories, they lose everything. They lose their job, they lose their house. You know, I always, even though I go out and do drugs, I always come home. Every night I always come home back to my house, you know, where I slept, and go to work the next day. So that's what I call a functioning addict, you know. Even when my addiction got a lot harder, I still worked.
Yeah, like there was a lot of the time where I would just see Ash and would catch up, and I wouldn't even suspect that she was like actually on drugs. And then, you know, getting to know her story and everything the whole time, she was like really badly struggling with addiction. And, you know, some people, like there were some signs, but I just kind of just like overlooked it because she functioned. So if you do see those small signs, maybe like reach out, see if like you're see if they're okay. So you have stated in the past that from addiction you've been quite suicidal. Did you want to discuss that into a little bit of detail?
Yeah. So I had my first suicide attempt at 19. That was basically the relationship I was in. You know, I wasn't dealing with what was going on very well. Obviously, people can have problems in their life too. I don't hold anything against this person. You know, we both wish each other the best, but back then, things were hard, obviously, for that person as well as myself. That's when I decided that I wasn't going to live anymore. So, you know, I ended up in life support, in a coma. So, you know, my family had to come in and see me on life support. And then, so after that relationship ended, I was just in my bed every day. My mum used to come home from work and she was so scared that I was going to do that same thing again. And, you know, she'd sit there and say, you know, Ash, like, please. And I was like, Mum, I just want to give up. Like, I just can't do it anymore. And she's like, no, you can. You know, like, you can. And I was like, no, I can't. Like, this is it for me.
That's so sad, man.
Yeah, so that was really, really, really hard for my mum. But then, you know, like everything, time does heal, like everything. Like, you know, I always say, if you're going through something hard, promise you, time will make that pass. It could still be there, but I promise you it'll get a lot easier to deal with.
I've had like a mindset of kind of wanting to end it. So I can relate to that. That was a pretty dark time in my life as well. I never actually attempted on it, so like, I can relate to like where you were at in that moment.
Me actually doing that scares the shit out of me. I realised how easy it is to do that. So that kind of in when I really did want to do it again, that was what made me stop myself, was thinking about my family seeing like that, thinking about my mum, which at that time I didn't think about any of that. You know, that's how much pain I was in that I didn't even think of my family. So like that's what helps me today when I don't get in those states today, but back then when I did, that was what would make me pull myself out of it, thinking about my family, what they went through, thinking about how my mum could, you know, how she dealt with that situation. So, yeah. In
the moment when it's just, like, built up so much that you just want it to end, you don't really think about, like, who's left it behind and, like, what, you know, how much you actually mean to so many people.
Yeah. It just doesn't cross your mind,
It doesn't, you just, the negative is so at the forefront that everything else is, like, forgotten. So persevere through those times. I know it's really, really tough, but there will be a light at the end of the tunnel.
And just reach out. Always reach out. Don't think that you have to go through something that alone.
Ash's Instagram and social media will be linked. Mine as well. If you are going through struggles, addiction, anything like that, just reach out. We'll have a
always
chat.
Reach out. Yeah.
So, can I ask, what was your hardest habit to break and why?
So, 22, I started using heroin. That basically became, from the first time that I used, from 2 years after, was an everyday thing for me. I think I had maybe a month, 2 month break in between that. So that was definitely hard because, you know, if I didn't use for 8 hours, I'd be sick. I wouldn't be able to work. Like that was really, really tough. You know, having to come up with $200 every day just so that I wouldn't get sick and so that I could go to work and function, like that was really, really hard.
You went to rehab?
Yep.
Did you want to discuss like how that experience was for your struggle?
Yeah, so rehab was actually really good. It introduced me to NA, going to meetings, which I recommend anyone to do that is struggling with addiction. Lockdown's hard because there's only meetings online, but like get to a meeting, like it helps. Talking about things to other people in the room with other addicts helps. My mum's even going to meetings with me, like she's the best, you know. My family's the best, like they're really supportive.
So I think it's important to discuss how like, sometimes you go to rehab, you get clean, your mind is like focused on being back to who you were, and you can sometimes break and you can go back to your old habits. So that's kind of like what happened with you. You had to do rehab again. But I do want to point out, like, it's okay to, have addiction, beat it, and then to break again. But you just need to remember to get help. Like, you can't just get lost in that. And it's good that, Ash voluntarily, she put herself back into rehab because she knew that she could possibly, go back to that lifestyle.
What I did when I got out of rehab was I did what I wanted to do. I went and got my RSA, my RCG. I really wanted a job. I knew that a job would really help me. Just being sitting at home all day with nothing to do, that was a massive trigger for me. Being bored is a trigger. It wasn't the same this time. This time I really I didn't want to do it. It was more of a doing it because it was easy. It was there. It was just what I knew. Whereas now, I don't want to use. I don't like using.
Yeah, knowing you, I did notice your second attempt at rehab was really, really beneficial for you. I know that there was a huge changing point in your life. I could see it. I could see that you actually wanted to get better. Yeah. Did you want to talk about something that maybe helped you with that changing point?
Yeah, so the changing point for me was I got a job. I was working pretty much every day. I got Jamie actually a job at my work, and I think that's where he could really see me. I was I was working every day. That was when I really felt like I had a purpose again in life. I felt I loved going to work. I would complain about not having more hours when I already had too many hours. It was that was all I wanted to do was work. So getting a job was what really changed. Yeah, helped me change.
Yeah, I could definitely, agree to that. I noticed a huge change in you when you had this job. Even working with Ash, we both work behind a bar. It's so much fun. We have the best time. She's like the boss. Even though she's not the boss, she as soon as Ash comes into work, she's like, go, go, go. She just, she treats it like her own bar. It's just really nice to see, seeing someone go from being kind of just I don't know,
not caring
about life at all.
Being messy.
Yeah.
Just
just rocking up looking a mess, and then she'd come to work, looking nice. She'd be like, right, what do we got to do? Let's do it. And it was just so nice to see the change in character. So that second stint in rehab was definitely the best thing I think that's ever happened in your recovery process. Yeah. And I think it's important to know if you have been to rehab and it didn't work for you,
you're not going to get it the first time. It's not normal if you do. You can have 5 rehab attempts before you finally get it. You're not always going to get it the first go, and you don't always need rehab. Some people get clean just through the NA rooms, or just because they finally get to a point where they're like, you know what, I actually finally do want to change. Yeah. You can do all the right things and still not actually want it. You need to actually want to change, and that's where for me, I finally wanted to be different, and that's what helped me. People say to turn your addiction into a positive one. For me, that's working. I love working. I want to work all the time. So that's for me, that is what I do today. So I try to get out and walk every day. I try eat healthy, and today I have my own aged care business.
The way your outlook on life is changed completely as well.
I have dreams now that I know that I can accomplish. I save money, I have goals, and all of those goals to me are now achievable, whereas back then I used to think of something and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get there. Where today I've actually gotten there, and all I can keep do is trying to get further in my life in a positive way, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I'm so proud of you. Honestly, you've come so far. So I think that kind of wraps up the most part of this video. Did you have a message for anyone out there struggling with a similar situation?
Always reach out. Go to rehab. I know rehab seems so
daunting.
Just extreme. But sometimes that's exactly what you need. They introduce you to things that you wouldn't have known before, like NA, Go to meetings, that really helps. If you ever need to talk to me about anything, like, you know, I'm always here. And don't ever give up. Like, if I had given up back then when I went to rehab the first time, I didn't get it, like, I wouldn't be where I am today. But the fact that I just kept trying to get somewhere better is what helps. Don't give up. You can do it. Don't think that you can't. You can. And don't always think it's going to happen the first go. It doesn't.
Yeah. I think that's pretty good advice. Thanks for watching. If you are out there and you are struggling with addiction, every step closer is like a positive step towards where you need to be. Like, if you break some sort of your habit, even if it's small, at least you're heading towards the right direction.
Just never stop trying. Don't give up. I am where I want to be today, and I am so proud of myself that I actually have turned this turning point in my life where, you know, I do believe in myself today. Like, I do get up in the morning and I'm happy with who I am. And, you know, just coming that far is such a big thing. So, yeah, everyone that's watching, like, you can do it and just don't give up.
Yeah. I'll see you in the next video.
Thanks, guys.
See ya. Okay.
I'm scared.
Me too.